Hello guys, welcome to Java Core Programming course. This is section 2 and lecture number 10. And today's agenda. We are going to discuss while loop, do while loop, break statement and continue statement. Let's begin. While loop. This is the flowchart for the live while loop and this is the general syntax. You see that while loop starts with the while keyword and inside the parenthesis there is a boolean expression that will be the condition of the loop. If it is evaluated true, the loop body will be executed. Let's see the flowchart. This is the start of the program and start of the while loop. And this is the decision inside this parenthesis that is evaluated. It is a logical expression. If it evaluates to true, and the process or the statements will be executed. And it goes back to the decision. And this continues as long as the condition or the decision is true. Once it becomes false, it goes to the next statement and the loop iteration stops. While loop is controlled by the logical expression to take decision. As long as condition is true, it executes the body of the loop. Once the condition evaluates to false, it exits the loop and goes to the next statement. Care is required. This is very important to ultimately make the logical expression evaluates to false. This condition, it must converge to be false. If this is not false, this loop will become infinite and will never ends. So it has to stop at some point during the execution of the program so that the program continue its normal execution. So we will make the condition false within the body of the loop. Usage. We normally use while loop when we do not know in advance how many times it's supposed to execute. So while loop executes 0 or more times. Now the do while loop. Do while loop is the variation of while loop. In this loop, the body of the loop executes first, then the condition is evaluated. If it is true, the body is executed again and come back to the decision till the decision is true. This process repeats. Once the decision becomes false, it goes to the next statement and stop iteration of the loop. So this is the general syntax. Do body of the statements, body of the loop having statements executed, then the while checks the condition and evaluates the logical expression to see if it is true or false. If it is true, it executes it again. If it is false, it stops and goes to the next statement. It is variation of while loop. It executes the loop body first, then checks the condition. It executes at least once, no matter that loop condition is true or false. So we use it when we need or we want to execute the body at least once, and it is good to use this loop for the menu driven programs, and we display the menu to the user within the do while loop, so it executes at least once and show the menu. If the user selects exit, the while loop ends. Continue statement. Continue statement is a loop control statement. A loop control statement is helpful to control the loop. Continue statement uses continue keyword. It breaks the current iteration of the loop and starts over to the next iteration. So we use it when we want to skip the current iteration of the loop and want to start the next iteration. So there are two variations of the continue statement. In first variation is, this is a loop. It can be while, do while or for loop, any loop. and this is a condition because we conditionally stop iteration of the current loop. So if the condition is true, we place continue keyword here, and this continuous keyword stop the loop iteration and does not execute anything after this block and go to the next iteration. Or we can also use this same statement with the we can this is example, and I will show you the variation of this iteration in the next slide. I might be so for loop, it starts with 1, iterated up to 10, and increment 1 by 1, and if the loop invariant I is an even number, continue. That means this iteration will be stopped and it goes to the next number and increase the I and check the condition. So this loop will only print odd numbers. It does not print even numbers because it skipped the iteration of the even number. So this is the second variation. In the second variation, we can use labels. Labels are ways we place with a named location within the program with a colon, and we can move the execution to that particular label by using continue statement. So the break statement. Break is also a loop control statement. Break statement normally used in switch statement to break the execution of a selected block so that the execution of the next block should not be executed or started. This same break statement we can use within the loop to stop or exit the iteration. This statement does not just stop the iteration of the current iteration. If this statement is placed within the loop, it breaks the loop. Normally it is discouraged because this is not a good practice to use break statement to exit the loop. So it is encouraged to use a Boolean expression or a condition to end the or to stop the loop execution. It is in the case of loops, it terminates the loop. This is different from continue. Continue only skip the current iteration. Break does not break the current iteration, it just breaks the entire loop. This is the general syntax. Loop, statements, condition. If the condition is true, break. This will break the loop. While, for example, while I is less than or equal to 100, sum it. If the sum is greater than 100, break. So we know that sum of 1 to 100 is equal to 5500. So we only want the sum up to 100. So sum is, we add I to the sum. If sum becomes greater than 100, we break it. So this will break the entire loop, not just the current iteration. That is all, guys. Let's begin practice. Hello guys, let's practice lecture 10 concepts. While loop, do while loop, break statement, and continue statement. Let's begin. Let's create classes for the practice. First, while loop, lecture 10. And do while loop, and next we will do statements, break and continue, break, continue statements. Okay, remove this. Okay guys, let's start with the while loop. Add main method. Okay, while loop, 2 components, condition and loop body. So this is general syntax: while, condition, and loop body. Okay, so we can use any logical expression here that will be evaluated to true or false, and based on the result, either the body of the loop will be executed or skipped. So let's say we want to print 10 numbers while I is less than equal to 10. I is equal to I. Let's print it. So this loop will print. Okay, we need to increment it, sorry, to make the condition false at certain time, I plus plus. Otherwise it will run infinitely. Okay, now this will run 10 times. Let's do a loop with the condition. Okay, let's say int input is equal to 0 while input is not equal to, let's say, -1. Import scanner to interact with the keyboard. java.util.scanner. Create object. Scanner keyboard new scanner system.in. Okay, now here let's say int sum is equal to 0. Okay, prompt the user to enter a number. Enter a number to add or -1 to exit. So -1 will be over sentinel condition. Okay, input is equal to keyboard dot next int. If input is not equal to -1 with sum plus is equal to input. Let's print it. Sum is now sum. Okay, let's run it. This loop will execute as long as we enter -1. Sorry, as long as we enter any number other than -1. So let's say 1, and we add 2, and we add 5, and we add 10, and we add -1. This will exit. This is how we make a while loop and run it as many times as we want until the condition is true. Let's do the while loop. Okay. Let's see, this printed the line 10 times. Okay, let's do it again. Is equal to 1, do while I is less than equal to 10. Okay, now print it. I is equal to s out do while loop plus I. Okay, increment I plus plus. Let's run it. Okay, it ran 10 times. Okay, let's make the condition false. Is equal to I is equal to 0, or let's say while I is less than 1, but here I is equal to 1. Let's make it new loop. So I is equal to 1, and we want to run this loop at least one time, no matter the condition is less than 1. At least once. Okay, let's try this. Okay, see here, do while loop at least once. Look at the condition. I's value is 1. We printed this line. We entered into the loop body. We printed this line, incremented it, and checked the condition. I is less than 1 and it is false, so exit it. So I is equal to 1 here. This condition is already false, but still it executes at least once. Do while loop must run at least once, no matter the condition is true or false. Okay, where we use mostly main. Mostly we use do while in menu driven programs. Okay, I wrote a code here. I think this is do while loop. Okay, let's copy it. Do while. Okay, look at this. We started with the choice that is 0, and we printed the menu, and we read the choice from the user, and this is do while loop. It execute at least once and keep on executing as long as we enter 0 to exit the loop. So we print the choice. Accordingly, output will be shown, and this will run as long as we want it. For example, let's run it once. Run, and here let's enter 0. Okay, default is selected and loop is exited. Let's remove this to make it more clear. It ran even though the choice has no value and it is not initialized, and menu printed, user input read, choice is equal to set to the user input, switch statement entered, and no value of the case matched, so default will be executed, and do while loop exits because we have entered 0. This default is selected this way. So this is how do while loop works. It runs at least once, no matter the condition is false, because this loop executes the body of the loop first, then it checks the condition, and if the condition is true, it executes the body again, otherwise it goes to the next statement. Now the break and continue statements. Main. Okay, let's run a loop to only print even numbers using continue. Okay, for int I is equal to 1, I is less than equal to 10, and I plus plus, and we put condition here, condition to check odd number, condition to check even number with the odd number. If I percentage of 2 is not equal to 0, and we continue, otherwise print value of I is let's say even value I. Let's run it. Okay, so we see it only printed the even numbers, because whenever it is odd, it continue. What does continue do? When the loop condition is true, it enters into the loop body. This condition checks if the i's value is odd and encounter the continue loop. Continue loop breaks the current iteration and it goes to the increment section and then goes to the condition check and continues. If it is even, skip this and print this. This is how it works. What happens if we use break statement? Example, continue statement. Let's copy it. Okay, now run a loop to only print even numbers using and use break statement. Okay, we place break here. If a number is not even, we break. What does break do? Break will terminate the entire loop. The first number, let's say first number is 2. So at least we want one number. Okay, let's run it to understand how it works. So guys, example, this statement is printed. Loop started with 2 and this is an even number. So this will skip the if block and print this one. It goes to the increment, make the value of I is equal to 3. That is an odd number, and enters into the if block and break the loop. Nothing else will happen. It breaks the entire loop. Continue only breaks the current iteration of the loop. This is how break and continue works. It is good to use continue statement if we want to skip some iteration. It is not a good practice. Not a good practice to use except switch case statements. So always make a boolean condition to exit the loop instead of using break statement. It is a bad programming. Thank you guys. That is all for today, and hope to see you in the next section. Take care. Please subscribe to the channel and promote the content. Have a very good day.